Welcome to Centerpoint's Dive In with Matt and Joe.
In this podcast, we're filling in gaps and diving deeper into topics and passages related to the Sunday messages at Centerpoint Church.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Joe. Let's dive in.
So we are talking about Psalm 23, and in that we're learning about the shepherd. Mm-hmm. Yahweh is my shepherd. And it's not the first time that kind of thing is talked about. And so we've got a variety of things to draw from. And even as we were getting ready for the message this last weekend, you drew my attention to, in a way, I wouldn't have gone there had you not said anything, but Ezekiel chapter 34.
Yeah, right. You know, the book that we all are probably reading in our own personal devotional time.
I've almost got it memorized.
Good. Yeah, you're on your way.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not too many people that... What's your favorite book of the Bible? Ezekiel.
For sure.
I mean, people try to be obscure. Those like Leviticus is my book. That's fine. But there's a variety of them. Mm-hmm. Ezekiel's in the mix. But he's an interesting character.
He really is. Yeah, he really is.
And I don't even think I realized this until we were getting ready for today, knowing we're going to spend some time in Ezekiel 34. Ezekiel always he lives in the prophet category of my brain.
Right. Well, genre-wise in our Bibles,
yeah,
he's one of the prophets.
Yep. But that's just kind of in my brain. This guy's a prophet.
That's right.
But he was actually being prepared for and commissioned as a priest.
Yeah, that's correct. Historically, he comes from a priestly family and celebrated his 30th birthday, which is significant because that's when a man would become a priest if he was from a priestly family.
So just double checking this. So in a priestly family, there's the training, there's your family lineage and that, but you don't actually get to become a priest until your 30th birthday.
30th birthday, yep.
Okay.
That's my understanding. I would feel better if I went back and fact-checked myself on that.
Nah, you're pretty good with stuff like that.
But that's my understanding, right? So that's why it's significant. The Gospels don't overtly say Jesus was 30 years old at his baptism, but church history would say he turns 30 and is baptized by John the Baptist.
That's his anointing.
Yeah, right.
Into his vocational calling as priest.
Right, and so this is why the author of Hebrews will liken Jesus to our great high priest. Yeah.
And of course, with Jesus, we get kind of the three main roles wrapped into one: prophet, priest, king.
Yeah.
But I hadn't made that connection before until you brought that up with Ezekiel.
Well, and what's interesting is here in Ezekiel 34, which will connect to Psalm 23 here, and as this podcast unfolds, but we actually see those three roles played out here. So Ezekiel himself is a priest. We have him actually operating in the role of prophet. So these were in the Old Testament times, kind of the watchdogs that God would raise up to call the people back to himself and confront idolatry and injustice, because those two things go together.
And they're running rampant in God's people.
Yeah.
And so watchman is an important, not necessarily a title for Ezekiel.
Well, yeah, that is a significant image within Ezekiel, the book that we have present day. So we see those three roles coming together because, as we're going to see here, part of Ezekiel's indictment, which is actually coming from Yahweh, is against the leaders of Israel. So the religious leaders, kind of what we would classify today as the religious leaders and the political leaders. So the kind of the kings of Israel. And so he's got some really hard things to say. And this chapter is actually kind of on the softer side compared to other chapters within the book of Ezekiel, which
it really
are
is
beyond our time in this conversation. But yeah,
I'd like to read a portion of this.
I think it'd be great
if I can do that. So we'll dive in, and I would encourage you listeners to go through Ezekiel 34, and we're not going to read all of it or even discuss all of it, but it is worth reading through. It's sobering, and there's goodness in here.
Yeah, it's filled with a lot of hope.
Yeah. So the first part is reflective of the sobering piece of this. So we're going to read 34, verses 7 through 10. Therefore, you shepherds, hear the word of the Lord. As surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, because my flock lacks a shepherd, and so has been plundered, and has become food for all the wild animals. And because my shepherds did not search for my flock, but cared for themselves rather than for my flock, therefore, you shepherds, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I am against the shepherds and will hold them accountable for my flock. I will remove them from tending the flock so that the shepherds can no longer feed themselves. I will rescue my flock from their mouths, and it will no longer be food for them.
That's a word right there.
Woof. Here is the Lord exposing and denouncing in the strongest terms these leaders of Israel, leaders of the people, who were there to tend them like a shepherd tends a flock.
Yeah, so this is a really common image in the ancient Near East. So again, ancient Near East is just the kind of shorthand term for Israel and its surrounding nations. And this is a common image in other religions and neighbors around Israel, where they would look at their leaders, primarily their political and religious leaders, as shepherds. So this was an image that would have been really appropriate in this day and age. So here's who he's talking about. He's talking specifically the leaders of Israel.
Yeah. So, quick question. So, would that have been true of the surrounding cultures in that, or was this primarily Israel and Judah?
Yeah, so my understanding is that the idea of the image of shepherd is a common one, obviously within Israel, but also was one within the ancient Near East. And
which makes sense.
Yeah, well, and what's interesting is that these other nations, their perception of their religious practices is that their gods would rule through shepherds, under shepherds, who would be kings and religious leaders. So we have some mapping onto that within Israel, right? Because they're all neighbors. But as we're going to see, because we're not there yet, that's going to take a turn in a way that would have been not common in the other nations, their neighbors.
Certainly. Okay, so the metaphor is a fairly common one. So people wouldn't have been mystified by what Ezekiel was talking about. What is Yahweh talking about?
No, they would have known
Shepherds
exactly
and
who
flock.
he's talking about. Yeah.
So he's speaking to the leaders, and the leaders were put in the position of leadership for the good of the flock, that you are to leverage your leadership, not for your own benefit, but for the benefit, for the care, protection, and provision of those entrusted to you.
And as we often come back to in this podcast, the Old Testament law called Torah just means instruction. That was not only true for the people in general, what you just described as the leaders caring for the people, but Yahweh specifically wanted the leaders to care for all the people, but especially the vulnerable, the widows, the orphans, the foreigners, and the poor. These four categories are on repeat within the Old Testament law.
And so the more vulnerable the person, the more attention and protection they should receive from those with power.
Correct. So there are laws in the Old Testament that encourage the entire community and show the entire community of people how to care for them, and specific laws to the leaders on focusing on caring for all people, but particularly those on the margins of society.
And that makes sense, because the way of the leader is the way of the people.
Correct.
Typically, right? That's what leadership is.
Right, and it's all grounded in Yahweh's deliverance of the Israelites out of the oppression and bondage of slavery in Egypt. And he tells them, listen, I rescued you from that. You were foreigners in that land. You were in oppression, in slavery, in poverty, and I rescued you. Don't ever forget that narrative. Don't ever forget what I've done, and I want you to care for those people like I cared for you.
Well, which is still a rescuing. And so to say that God rescued them from slavery and oppression, he rescued them as those who were recipients of oppression. But there is there is a slavery for the oppressor.
Yeah, there is.
Like to control, to manipulate, to coerce another holds a person in bondage.
It does.
It's not good for the human soul.
No.
It destroys it.
No, because human beings are not means to the end of self.
Right. And so
whether
when
you
we treat others as means,
yes,
and when we even leverage ourselves as the means to something, it's dehumanizing.
Yeah.
So Yahweh rescues from oppression means both of those things. And so because they came out of that, God was insistent that you not give yourselves back again to that slavery. And
that's exactly what they ended up doing.
That's exactly what they ended up doing.
Right. So it takes a number of years for this to happen. But it builds over time.
And it's warnings. So this isn't their first warning either.
Well, no, actually, it's interesting because what we're reading about here in Ezekiel 34, Ezekiel is actually preaching to the Israelite exiles in Babylon. So at this point here in Ezekiel 34, they're already in Babylon. So it was, let me just quick check here. It was 586 BC that the southern kingdom of Judah and the capital city of Jerusalem falls, and the first wave of kind of refugees is taken from Jerusalem into Babylon. So not the whole nation, not yet. That's going to come later. And Ezekiel is actually part of the first band of people taken into exile. And so this here in Ezekiel is happening a few years after having been in exile. And he's the book opens up with him by an irrigation canal. So just him by water, and he has a word from the Lord. And then we just get the rest of the book of Ezekiel and how it unfolds, and it's powerful, and it's beautiful, and it's also really confusing.
Yeah.
As we said, but for our purposes here, I think it's really important because this is almost like and I don't want to read his motive into this, but this would almost feel like rubbing salt into the wound. Like, hey, Ezekiel, we've been in exile now for about a handful of years, and you're pronouncing more judgment on our leaders. Like, well, we already knew that. Like, we knew that's why, like, how we got here.
Yeah, and so like God's got another bone to pick.
Yeah, because he wants them to understand their story. He's not like, it's not somebody's whose dog has gone to the bathroom on the floor, and I mean, take your snout and rub it in your own matter that you left on the floor. This is not that. This is God wanting to make sure that the narrative is really, really clear. That you are in exile not because I abandoned you. You are in exile because you have rejected me.
Yeah, and you have rejected my ways.
Mm-hmm.
And my ways are that those with influence, authority, and power should leverage that not for their own good, but for the good of those that they lead.
Mm-hmm.
And so just even this language that he has here in verse 10, I will rescue my flock from their mouths, and it will no longer be food for them. And it's painting this picture of the vicious attacker, the wolf, or the bear or the lion. We know those are the I don't even know if wolves did. Now, in our context, wolves and sheep.
Well, no, for sure. I mean, Jesus uses this imagery, right? Watch out for wolves in sheep's clothing.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I had to stop and think because like when David says, I protected my sheep from bears and lions.
And lions, right? These are some wilderness creatures.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to think through ancient Near Eastern, did they have wolves like we think of wolves?
Sure. So I don't know if their wolves would be like ours, but Jesus does talk about wolves. Yeah.
Okay, I don't
know.
want to get distracted,
you're on,
but I had to kind of stop and check myself for a minute.
No, you're on safe ground.
So I will rescue my flock from their mouth. So it's this vicious attacking animal that has it in its grip, in its mouth, and it's a horrible thing.
Well, think about again the people who he's talking to. Like this is them right now.
Yeah.
As he is making this declaration, that is actually their lived experience as exiles in Babylon.
So I don't know. We can decide later if this is oversharing or not. But it was just a couple weeks ago. My dog Jubilee kind of talked about her in the message. She's the stubborn one that doesn't sit.
Maybe it's just you. Maybe it's not her.
Well, there's a chance that that's
No,
possible.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Liberty was out giving her a walk in our neighborhood, and she was attacked by a couple of other dogs. So kind of a pack mentality. So Jubilee's just 25-pounder, and these were like 80-pound dogs.
She's such an amazingly calm,
she
beta dog.
is.
Beta dog, calm in the sense of isn't going to go out of her way to
she is not
kick up the dust with other dogs.
She absolutely is not. She's as beta as they come. And yet, so at one point, one of the dogs kind of had her in his mouth.
Oh, goodness, like a chew toy.
Over her spine towards her hind end.
Oh, no.
Like grabbing her and trying to shake her. And she's screaming for help. Like that's the dramatic thing. So in one sense, I'm hearing my dog.
Yeah.
And I wasn't there, but getting the story. But like my dog whelping for help.
Yeah.
Because she's in the grip, the mouth of this other animal. And so then I'm taking that, and that's the imagery that God is using here. Like, you leaders have grabbed them by with your mouth. You're chewing them, and they're whelping. They're crying out for help. But you just keep attacking them.
Yeah.
To satisfy yourself.
Exactly. And you think that I'm not watching, and you think that I'm not listening.
And even I would imagine the flock kind of wonders, is Yahweh even watching?
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Because in the face of injustice, in the face of horror, we ask ourselves, does God even care?
Correct.
Does God even see?
It's a normal human response.
And so God is making it very clear, oh, I see. And his leaders over his flock had very specific ramifications to that. I am removing you. I am removing you from this. You don't get to be the leaders anymore.
Right.
And because you keep feasting on the flock, not tending to them.
Yeah, right. So here they are by this irrigation canal in their settlement as exiles in Babylon going, where's Yahweh? And maybe even, we're here because of our leaders. We're here because of their rejection. We're here because of our rejection of Yahweh. So where is he? And is there any hope for us?
Well, it is a hopeless thing, and it's an angering thing. I think about we've been hearing these stories for a long time within churches of those in leadership authority who abuse those under their authority and under their care, whether it was the abuse that came out a couple decades ago in the Roman Catholic Church. And as Protestants, I interact with a lot of Protestants who got really cocky about that.
Yeah, we had nothing to be cocky about.
But we absolutely did not, because the news is thick with so many leaders who are taking advantage of those who are entrusted to their care, not for the good of the flock, but for their own satisfaction.
Right, in a wide variety of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Money, sex, bullying, so kind of the power.
Yeah.
Kind of get full of themselves.
There's a variety of ways to see, take, and eat.
Well, and is it an interesting, we see, take, and eat. We've been talking about the three longings of the human heart.
Significance, belonging, and safety, or shalom,
and
peace.
Shalom. Yeah. So kind of taking those things. And so instead of trusting Yahweh, instead of trusting Jesus, because we're New Testament, they take it for themselves.
Right.
And we see that in political leaders. And we try to write it off and say, it's a governor, not a pastor. But there are still implications. And it makes us, like, we recoil. It's revolting to watch leaders who abuse, whether, again, political leaders, business people. A bunch of you, I'm sure, have worked for business leaders that were heavy-handed bosses.
Yeah.
And just going for their own good, not for the good of others. I was talking with somebody just the other day about their experience in the workplace. It happens all around us.
And we see it down into nuclear families.
Absolutely.
Right?
And so those who are entrusted with leadership have been given the privilege of leadership for the good of others. But they take and eat and consume those that have been trusted to their care for their own benefit. And God says, no, we're done now. To his people, he's saying, we're done. I'm cutting you off.
Yeah, and his justice is motivated by his love and his holiness.
It absolutely is. And then it begs the question, okay, so you're going to wipe the slate clean of these bad shepherds. What are you going to do about it? And that's this next section.
Yeah, it's powerful.
It is. Do you want to read it or want me to?
Yeah, let's jump in. I'll go ahead and take starting in verse 11, and we're going to read through verse 16. So again, this is God speaking, right? Okay. So he says, "For this is what the sovereign Lord says, I myself will search for my sheep and look after them. As a shepherd looks after his scattered flock when he is with them, so I will look after my sheep. I will rescue them from all the places where they were scattered on a day of clouds and darkness. I will bring them out from the nations and gather them from the countries, and I will bring them into their own land. I will pasture them on the mountains of Israel, in the ravines and all the settlements in the land. I will tend them in a good pasture, and the mountain heights of Israel will be their grazing land. They will lie down in good grazing land, and there they will feed in a rich pasture on the mountains of Israel. I myself will tend my sheep and have them lie down, declares the sovereign Lord. I will search for the lost and bring back the strays. I will bind up the injured and strengthen the weak, but the sleek and the strong I will destroy. I will shepherd the flock with justice."
Whoa.
Wow.
So the Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He leads me to lie down in green pastures. There it is.
It's all right here.
There it is.
Yeah.
He said that's the kind of shepherd he was through the Psalms.
Yeah.
And now generations later, he's coming back to that and say, that's precisely what I'm going to do.
And isn't it interesting? So I think it's important for us, right? Because Psalm 23 can be a pastoral postcard. It can be sentimental. It can
that's what you mean by pastoral postcard.
Yeah, like it can be like the warm
sentimentalize
fuzzies.
it,
like the warm fuzzies. And I'm not saying that there's not a place for the stirring of the heart towards comfort and affection that we experience in him. I'm not
Certainly.
against those things at all. But I want us to see Ezekiel is using the exact same language here as we find in Psalm 23. And this is in the context of God exercising justice. So he is exercising strength and justice out of his humility and his gentleness for his care for his people. I think that's such an important reframe for us, because in the cultural moment and cultural context in which we're in, we can often have a very particular view of what good leadership looks like. And this passage is one of a plethora of examples that would say, I think you need to reframe your perspective on healthy, just, caring, gentle leadership. And it all comes from what he says. I am their shepherd. I will tend to my sheep. I will go and find them. I will bring them into good pastures, and I will make sure that there is space and that the environment is safe for them to lie down.
He says it a couple times that I will go look for the lost sheep, and I will gather those who are scattered. And I think about Jesus and his parable of the lost sheep, and leave the 99 to go after the one. This is what he's talking about.
This is it, man.
Jesus is actually pointing back
to the prophets.
this.
To the prophets.
That's right. And declaring this is the nature of God.
Yep.
This is what he came to do. He talked about that. Jesus will talk about, I've been sent to the scattered sheep of Israel. So when Yahweh says, I'm going to do this, it begs the question, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? I'm going to do this by actually becoming human, the incarnation.
Yeah.
The Word became flesh and tabernacled amongst us. John 1.
Yeah.
I'm going to become one of them. I'm going to put myself into their space, into their world.
That's right.
So that I can rescue them. And then I'm going to pull them from all nations. So here they are, Israel in exile, which is exactly the time where you let's hunker down, Israel. We got to really pull it together. It's just us against the world. And God has still got this every nation vision.
It's the every nation vision, and it's the reminder that he's with them. Because Ezekiel, it's a pretty trippy chapter 1 in Ezekiel. But early on in Ezekiel, the image that we see is that his presence leaves the temple in Jerusalem. So it's the ultimate handing over for their idolatry and injustice. Because injustice flows from idolatry. It's downstream. Yeah. You want to worship false gods? You're going to become like them. You're going to become like them by the way that you treat your neighbor. That's it. Idolatry and injustice. And so it's this image of Yahweh leaving his temple in Jerusalem. And you're like, oh, but that's what marked us. That's what marked the people. Like his presence. He's gone.
That was the only thing that made them unique.
But where did he go? His presence went to Babylon. He's with them right there in exile.
Which is insane.
He's with them in exile. And you're exactly right. He's with them because he's for them and the nations. They're not an end of themselves.
Yeah.
It's an all nations vision that he has here, which flows from the story of Scripture. And I think this is important. So you were riffing on John chapter 1, verse 14. He came and Jesus, the Word become flesh. He came and he tabernacled among us. He dwelt among us. This is where this idea of Yahweh becoming the shepherd breaks the ancient Near Eastern categories, because in the neighboring countries, they would have viewed the shepherds as the human leaders appointed by God. But their gods wouldn't become human. Their gods wouldn't shepherd. They would shepherd through the leaders.
Yeah, because it's almost like the God can't touch it.
Right.
Like the gods are so far above.
Yeah.
You just can't defile themselves.
But listen, not Yahweh. That's not how Yahweh rolls. He's always with the people.
I'm going to go find them.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring them back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bring them back into good pasture.
Yeah.
And then John.
Mm-hmm.
He actually became one of us, flesh.
Yeah. So we could probably wrap that up in a another podcast, 25, 30 minutes. Word became flesh. Wrap that up. Move on. Right? I think even when we're with Jesus, this is purely me speculating, but I think even on New Heavens, New Earth, when we're with him and one another, I don't think we're ever going to exhaust the depths of that reality, that God became human.
Oh, for 1,000 tongues to sing.
Yeah.
If I had all the oceans as ink, I could not write enough of his grandeur and glory. Mm.
So he is our shepherd. He is your shepherd. He comes and he finds us. And he brings us into good pasture. And he creates space for us to lie down.
And this is who he is, and this is what he continues to do. And that's the reason we sit here and even talk about him, is because he has come to find us. And I don't think we have to reverse this language, but sometimes we use language of I found Jesus. I found Jesus when I was XYZ. Mm-hmm. What we're saying is I became aware of Jesus.
Sure.
At a certain point.
That's what you mean by, I don't think we need to reverse the language.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So I think it's fine to say that. But let's also be clear. We're walking with him not because we found him, but because he found us.
If it's hide and seek, we're the ones hiding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so just that language of I will go find my scattered sheep. So if you're listening to us today and you are feeling lost, this is who God reveals himself to be. He is aware. There is nothing in this world that has escaped his attention. He is bent on making it right. And he does so through his very presence. He will find you. He is the God who will find the lost sheep. He will leave the 99 to do it. In other words, he's not worried about math. It doesn't make sense. Yahweh's not worried about the math and making it make sense. It's his love that will drive him to find you. It's his love that helped him find me. So we don't have to strive. We don't have to scramble. We don't have to earn.
Yeah, that's right.
The invitation is just to trust him.
Yeah, to receive and rest in the gift of rescue, salvation from him.
Yeah. Do you feel like you can reflect on the conversation you had with a guy after service on Sunday, after the first service? And it's okay if you don't feel like you can.
Oh, I think I can. After one of the services this past Sunday, there was a person who came up to me, and they're relatively new to Centerpoint, and just came right up to me and said, "Okay, what do I need to do to receive Jesus?"
Yeah. Because he'd been around enough to kind of see some things and hear some things, and he had some religious background.
Mm-hmm. He did, and said to me, I've never been around a group of more loving people, and I just really want what everybody else has, and that's Jesus.
Yeah. And it was just so clear for him.
Yeah.
That Jesus is the thing that's making the difference.
Yeah.
And that's what I want.
Yeah, right. So for those of you listening who are part of Centerpoint, well done.
Yeah.
Right. So notice he didn't talk about the songs. He didn't talk about the message. Like he's a very kind person. But in this moment of, okay, I'm ready. What brought his attention to Jesus was the gathered people of Jesus right here in this local body. And that's Jesus' prayer in John 17.
Yeah.
Father, unite them together so that the world may know that you have sent me, that I'm your son. That they'd be marked by, he says earlier in John 13, that we'd be marked by our love for one another.
Yeah. Because that's how the kingdom is made believable.
Yeah, so just for our listeners, rejoice in that, celebrate in that, but also just be proud of that. In the spirit, be proud of that. Like, you are contributing. You matter. Because it wasn't any one person that he pointed to except Jesus, but it was his gathered people that he pointed to as to these people are loving. I want what they have.
That's just so good. Yeah, it was just so good as you were sharing that with me between the services and all that. So it was just fun to be able to share.
Yeah.
God is not done looking for sheep that are lost, that are scattered. For those who have been wounded by others. He's looking for you. And he is the healer. He is the one that restores. So, Joe, I love that you brought us back to this.
To Zeke?
Yeah, so thank you for bringing my attention back to Ezekiel. I wouldn't have gone here without you saying that. But this is really good. So it's been good to process this. And I'd encourage you listeners to even take some time with Ezekiel 34. Meditate on this. Listen to this. Pay attention to this. And as you do, don't just let yourself be frustrated by the shepherds that he's talking about. And you can think about ways that maybe you've been impacted by shepherds like that. But take in the goodness and the intention and the love of the one who says, I will be your shepherd. Mm-hmm. I will find you. I will come get you. And I will draw you into good space where you will flourish and lie down. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. Oh, he makes me lie down in green pastures. And that's good promise.